taking advantage of a drunken mishap. I forced my aloof childhood friend, Shen, to marry me. 6 months into our marriage, she had never touched me. Everyone said she carried a torch for an unattainable love. I was just the eyesore she couldn't stand. I was exhausted. I packed my bags, ready to let her go. But outside a private lounge, I heard her childhood friend mock her sarcastically. Someone has secretly loved another person for 20 years, and finally tricked them into marriage, yet holds back every day, afraid everyone will see she's a pervert. But if you keep pretending, your husband really will go find another woman. Shen, usually cold as ice, had red-rimmed eyes now. What the hell do you know? If I don't restrain myself, you won't be able to get out of bed the next day. Her friend doubled over laughing. Fine. You're devoted. If you've got the nerve, stop asking people what to do on your secondary account day. My hand trembled as I opened Shen private account. Her pin post read, I finally married my childhood sweetheart, but I'm too crazy. I'm afraid I'll scare him. Waiting for advice? It's urgent. The bedroom lights were dimmed. I stood before the full-length mirror, straightening my silk pajamas. It was a style Shen had casually said looked good when we were young. 6 months into our marriage. We had been roommates for all 6 months. Other than putting on an act before our elders, she hadn't even touched my hand. Then, the lock clicked softly. Shen pushed open the door and entered. She had just finished an international video meeting and looked exhausted. 2 buttons of her white shirt were undone, barely exposing her collarbone. Her gaze fell on me, her brow immediately furrowed, and she stopped in her tracks. Why aren't you asleep yet? Her tone was cold, fueled by the little wine I'd had at dinner. I crossed the room in a few strides. I grabbed her tie and yanked it hard. Shen was forced to lower her head. I pulled her onto my lap, wrapping both arms around her neck. Shen, we're married. I pressed close to her ear, my voice trembling with nerves. It's been 6 months. Can't you fulfill your duties as my wife? Just once. Shen went rigid, though her hands instinctively tightened. Just when I thought she would finally respond, a flash of restraint crossed her eyes. Then she suddenly shoved me away. I staggered into the nightstand. If not for the thick carpet, I would have fallen to the floor. Her chest rose and fell, her breathing ragged. But she didn't even look at me. She turned and opened the nightstand drawer, taking out the comfort plush she never went without. It was an old childhood keepsake, faded nearly white. Shen voice was extremely hoarse. Stop it. Go to sleep. She tossed the plush onto the bed, then pulled the covers over me. But she did it with obvious reluctance. I'm not interested in a drunk. Don't make me throw you out. I looked at her, my eyes stinging. Shen, did even touching me make you sick? I sprang from the bed, snatched up the plush beside me, and hurled it into the corner. I know you're in love with that campus heartthrob who went abroad. You think I'm a burden. If marrying me makes you so miserable, why did you agree to it in the first place? Shen stood with her back to me, leaning against the wall, her knuckles white. She said nothing, but to me, that silent rejection hurt more than any argument. I grabbed my coat from the hanger and threw it on haphazardly. I brushed past her and strode toward the door. Tears spilled helplessly down my face. Fine. I won't stay here and get in your way. Since you won't touch me, I'll find someone else. Someone will be willing to fulfill those duties. The door slammed with a deafening bang. I didn't look back, so I never saw Shen behind me. She stood in the shadows, staring after me with red-rimmed eyes. At my childhood friend Yang Jian's house, several empty bottles lay scattered on the floor. I sprawled on the couch, holding half a glass of red wine, my face streaked with tears. I took a huge gulp and coughed violently. Do you think something is wrong with her? She's been secretly in love with that campus beauty for 20 years, and dragged me into this misery too. I've never met a woman who can hold herself back like she does. I'm starting to wonder whether she can perform. Maybe it isn't what you think. Shen keeps her thoughts buried deep. Hard to read, my ass. I cut him off. Ever since we were kids, she's done nothing but control me and give me the cold shoulder. She barely even smiles. I think she just doesn't like me. I shouted bitterly, slamming my glass onto the coffee table. I pulled out my phone and began looking up divorce proceedings. I've decided. I'm divorcing her. Since she doesn't love me, I'll let her be with the one she truly loves. Seeing he couldn't talk me out of it, Yang Jian could only go along with my madness. As we joked around, he accidentally spilled the red wine in his hand. It splashed right across my collarbone. He wiped it off with a tissue, using a little too much force. After he cleaned it up, the skin there had turned red. The mark looked suggestive. I looked at the red mark in the mirror, and an idea suddenly came to me. Just then, my phone began vibrating nonstop on the coffee table. I looked and saw that Shen Buyu had sent dozens of messages. They began with, "Where are you?" Then became, "I'll come get you." I glanced at them, then put my phone face down without replying to a single one. It wasn't until the next morning that I finally dragged my exhausted body home. When I opened the door, Shen Buyu was sitting on the couch. At the sound of the door, she slowly lifted her head. Her eyes were bloodshot, and she radiated gloom. The oppressive tension made my breath catch. Shen Buyu rose to her feet and reached me in a few strides. Her gaze swept over me, before fixing on the red mark at my collar. Her expression was terrifying. "What is this? Who did this? Where were you last night? Who were you with?" Her voice shook as she yanked open my collar. Even her fingertips were shaking. Her state frightened me. But then I remembered last night's humiliation, and my anger flared again. I turned my head, meeting her rage-filled eyes directly. I gave a cold laugh. "Just as you can see, since you can't do it, of course I'll find someone who can." "Shen Buyu, I'm a normal person. I have needs." Shen Buyu raised her hand, as though she wanted to touch my face, or perhaps wrap it around my throat. I instinctively shut my eyes. A thunderous bang exploded beside my ear, but the pain I expected never came. Shen Buyu's palm had struck the wall beside my face. The impact sent plaster flakes showering down. Her hand was trembling. Her breathing was completely unsteady, and she choked back sobs in her throat. I opened my eyes in terror. Her eyes were lowered, her lashes trembling faintly. Her lips were pressed white, as if she were desperately suppressing something. My heart jolted painfully, but I forced myself to remain cold. I raised my hand and pushed her rigid body away. "Stop acting crazy. Sign the divorce agreement. It's better for everyone." With that, I went upstairs without looking back, and locked myself in my room. But karma came quickly. That night, I came down with a raging fever, probably from the hangover and catching a chill. As the fever clouded my mind, someone gathered me into their arms, carrying a familiar scent. Then cool touches kept landing on my forehead. I felt someone feeding me water and medicine. I forced my eyes open. Through my blurred vision, I saw Shen Buyu's face. Shen Buyu's brows were tightly furrowed, her eyes full of worry. None of her daytime gloom remained. But then I looked down and saw black leather gloves on her hands. Even while caring for me when I was sick, she still had to keep our skin from touching. In an instant, whatever gratitude I felt vanished. I weakly pushed her away, my voice dry and hoarse. "Don't touch me, Shen Buyu. You think I'm dirty? Then don't touch me." Shen Buyu froze. Her face darkened. She caught my flailing hands, pinned them above my head against the pillow. Tears glimmered in her eyes, but her voice was firm. "I'm your wife. What's dirty about you? That fever has muddled your mind. You've forgotten who you belong to." From the fever, my cheeks were burning hot, and the corners of my eyes were flushed red. Her breathing grew heavy. Unable to stop herself, she lowered her head. Her lips nearly brushed mine. She was close enough for me to feel her scorching breath. At that moment, I thought she was finally going to kiss me. I closed my eyes. Tears slid from their corners. I murmured, "If you don't love me, why did you marry me?" She suddenly came to her senses, then sprang up and staggered back a few steps. The desire in her eyes faded, leaving only panic and annoyance. "I'll get a wet towel." She threw out those words, then turned and rushed into the bathroom. Soon, the sound of running water came from the bathroom. It went on for a long time. Listening to the cold water running, I felt bitter. Of course, she still found me repulsive. Even when I was sick and vulnerable, she couldn't even bring herself to kiss me. Was it that, in her heart, only the one she truly loved was worthy of her? As I kept thinking, I drifted into a feverish sleep. When I woke the next day, sunlight streamed through a gap in the curtains. One shifted slightly, and found Shen Buyu asleep with her head resting on the bed's edge. She was still wearing last night's clothes, her brows tightly knit, as though she were having a bad dream. One hand gripped the edge of my shirt tightly. She held on so hard. Her knuckles had turned white, as if she were afraid I would leave. I looked at her defenseless sleeping face, my feelings a tangled mess. "Shen Buyu, what are you really thinking?" I shook my head and walked to the wardrobe. While sorting through it, I noticed a few things were missing. Several unopened pairs of socks, and 2 pairs of underwear. Other than the housekeeper, Shen Buyu was the only one in the house. Our housekeeper had worked for my family for over 10 years. She was honest. She had no reason to take those things. Could a thief have broken in? At the breakfast table, Shen Buyu had already returned to normal. She was dressed impeccably, reading a financial newspaper. Other than the faint shadows beneath her eyes, there was no sign of last night's disarray. I took a sip of milk and deliberately tested her. Shen Buyu, did someone break into the house? What makes you say that? Several pairs of socks and underwear are missing from my wardrobe. I can't find them anywhere. I watched her face closely, not missing even the slightest expression. Shen Buyu's hand suddenly slipped as she cut her steak. Her knife scraped across the china plate, letting out a harsh screech. My heart skipped a beat too. She set down her knife and fork, adjusted her glasses, and looked at me expressionlessly. Maybe the washing machine ruined them. I'll have someone buy you new ones later. Her tone was calm, but if I hadn't noticed her ears had turned bright red, I might have believed her nonsense. A washing machine ruining socks was plausible, but could it make underwear disappear too? Besides, I had never washed those things. They were brand new. She was lying, but I didn't call her out. I was only puzzled. What did she need those things for? I couldn't figure it out, and I had no desire to dig deeper. Right now, the important thing was divorcing her. I took the folder holding the divorce papers from my bag, placed it on the table, and slid it toward her. Come to the club tonight. Our childhood friends are having a gathering. I have something to give you. I looked at her, my voice calm. Shen Buyu looked at the folder, and her gaze instantly darkened. She probably thought I was going to confront her about that night, or ask for a divorce outright. But she didn't ask a thing. Suddenly, she reached out. Her fingertip brushed the corner of my mouth. I shuddered and froze. Instinctively, I tried to pull away, but she held the back of my head in place. She wiped a breadcrumb from my lips. Her deep gaze locked onto mine. Whatever you brought me, I won't sign it. Fang's you. For the rest of your life, you can only be mine. Her voice was low, filled with fierce resolve. With that, she withdrew her hand, grabbed her coat, and hurried out. Her retreating figure seemed flustered. I watched her leave, a faint tremor stirring in my heart. That look just now had been far too intense, but it didn't change my resolve. Tonight, in front of all our friends, I would end this marriage for good. That night, the hallway lights were dim. I gripped my bag tightly, took a deep breath, and headed for the private room. Before I reached the door, a burst of laughter sounded from inside. The door wasn't fully closed, leaving a narrow crack. Just as I was about to push it open, I heard my childhood friend Woqingyu's voice. Her tone was full of teasing. Miss Shen, I hear your husband is demanding a divorce again? I told you long ago. Why pretend to be some chaste saint? Now it's come back to bite you, hasn't it? My hand froze in midair. The clink of glasses came from inside. Then Shen Buyu spoke. What do you know? He's so timid, and he cries so easily. If I don't hold myself back, what if I make him cry? He'll be afraid of me. I stood there stunned. My heart skipped a beat. What did that mean? What did she mean? Afraid of her? Then Woqingyu burst out laughing. Are you insane, Shen Buyu? You've been secretly in love with him for 20 years. You even used such underhanded tactics to marry him, taking advantage of him being drunk to force a marriage. Now that you've got him, you're acting like a monk. I'm telling you, men can't stand being neglected. Keep pretending, and my brother-in-law really will run off with someone else. Then it'll be too late for tears. The private room instantly fell silent. Then glass struck the table with a sharp clink. Shen Buyu drained her drink in one gulp. Her voice caught slightly. He wouldn't dare. If he dares go looking for someone else, I'll lock him up at home, and he won't go anywhere. Was this really Shen Buyu, who wouldn't even touch me? Another friend covered her mouth and laughed. All right. Stop losing it in here. Why not show your husband that pin post on your alt account? Let him see what the aloof, abstinent President Shen is usually thinking about all that filthy stuff. A Weibo alt account. My hand trembled. Suddenly, I remembered something from long ago. A username I'd glimpsed on Shen Buyu's phone screen. I'd thought it was just a system recommendation then, and paid it no mind. As if possessed, I took out my phone and entered the username, into the search bar. The instant the result appeared, my breath caught. The profile picture was a photo of my back from when I was younger. It was from middle school. I was walking ahead in my school uniform, while she'd secretly photographed me from behind. My fingers trembling, I opened the profile. The first pin post had been posted just last night. When the image loaded, I felt the blood rush to my head. The photo showed the bedside in Shen Bayu's bedroom. Sitting on it were socks missing from my wardrobe. The image carried an indescribably provocative air. The caption read, "I finally married into my childhood sweetheart's family. Every day, I want to ruin him. But he's too timid. I'm afraid of scaring him. Holding back is so hard. Today, I took 5 cold showers. Please, I need advice. How can I make him accept the perverted me?" I stared at the screen, my cheeks burning. The staggering contrast made my legs go weak. So my aloof, abstinent childhood friend was like this in private. I leaned against the club hallway wall. My phone still displayed Shen Bayu's alt account profile. The username was simply you. The profile photo was my back from middle school. I scrolled down from the pin post and realized she hadn't only recently gone off the rails. She'd been this way for a full 20 years. In 9th grade, she'd posted, "His school uniform collar wasn't buttoned properly today." 2 girls from the next class kept staring at him. I wanted to button it up for him, 1 button at a time, then hide him somewhere I could always see him. In 11th grade, he handed a bottle of water to a girl from the next class, and even opened the cap for her. I ran 20 laps around the track, but still couldn't quell my anger. I wish that water had been for me. I wish he were kind to me alone. During my senior year of college, my family arranged a blind date for me. I never even met the person. I'd only heard they were quite a catch. Shen Bayu stood outside my dorm all night. I heard he was going on a blind date, so I stood downstairs, watching his dorm all night. If he really marries someone else, I'll probably go mad. Further down was the night before our wedding. She was even more blunt. I finally got him to force me into marrying him. I'm a truly despicable person. I knew he'd had too much to drink, but I still went along with what he said. As long as he wanted me, even if he woke up regretting it the next day, I'd accept it. When I read that, even my fingertips went numb. That drunken forced marriage everyone laughed about hadn't been an impulsive decision on my part. She'd waited too long, finally finding a chance to keep me. There was another post below it, written shortly after our wedding. "The doctor says I have skin hunger and some controlling tendencies. I'm afraid of scaring him. He's timid. The moment his eyes turn red, I can't do anything. I can't let him think that the woman who married him was not his childhood friend, but a weirdo who's hidden her ulterior desires for years." I stared at those lines. The weight that had pressed on my chest for 6 months suddenly lifted. The comments were lively too. Some urged her to confess quickly, saying her husband would leave if she kept icing him out. Others told her to see a doctor. Don't let unrequited love become an illness. Others asked her, why not just hold him and kiss him? Shen Bayu gave only one reply. "He'll be scared." Those 3 words left my heart aching and full. All the tears I'd shed these past 6 months. It wasn't that she hadn't seen them. She had seen them, which was why she feared getting closer. She didn't find me repulsive, and she didn't love someone else. She was holding herself back. For 6 months after our marriage, she hadn't dared touch me. She endured it until she took cold showers in the middle of the night, until she stole socks from my wardrobe, then made up an excuse that the washing machine had ruined them. Thinking about it, I almost laughed. President Shen, usually so aloof she seemed without feeling or desire, was secretly asking for advice on her alt account every day, asking how not to scare her own husband away. She kept up that act for so many years. I was determined to peel away that cold facade myself. I messaged Yang Jian, "Help me tonight. However you do it, get Shen Bayu home. Don't mention the alt account, and don't let her know I saw it." Yang Jian quickly replied with a question mark. I added, "Just tell her I'm waiting for her at home." He went silent for a few seconds, then sent just one message. "When you to fight, could you stop dragging me into the middle?" I didn't reply. I put away my phone and went straight home. Once inside, I went straight to the dressing room. The silk pajamas Shen Bayu had turned down, saying she needed to take her medicine and sleep. It still hung untouched in the very back. I changed into it, then found her favorite woody perfume. I once thought she'd merely complimented it in passing. Only now did I realize she'd recorded even the scent in detail on her alt account. After applying the perfume, I sat on the living room sofa. I took out the black leather gloves she usually wore to seem aloof, and slowly pulled them onto my hands. My reflection in the mirror looked like I was awaiting a judgment 6 months overdue. But this alone wasn't enough. I wanted to see just how long Shen Bayu could hold back. I had Yang Jian hired a female gaming companions. There was nothing shady planned. They were just there to play video games with me in the living room. I specifically told them, "Don't touch me, and don't say anything inappropriate." I wanted to provoke Shen Bai's icy facade, not cause real trouble for myself. One of the girls was especially attentive. She came over with her controller. Fang, don't rush this level. I'll get you through it. She stood rather close as she spoke. Her cuff brushed the back of my hand. I didn't move away. The fingerprint lock at the door chimed. Luo Qingyu helped Shen Baiyu through the door. Shen Baiyu had clearly been drinking. Her coat hung over her arm, and her hair was less neat than usual. The instant she looked up, the scene in the living room hit her. I wore the pajamas she hadn't dared look at, with her leather gloves on my hands. Two pretty girls sat beside me, one of them especially close. Her fingers rested beside my controller, softly teaching me how to play. Luo Qingyu stopped short, nearly abandoning Shen Baiyu in the entryway. Shen Baiyu sobered up considerably. She looked at me, then at the two girls beside me. The warmth slowly drained from her face. The living room fell silent except for the game sounds. I slowly raised my eyes. You're back? Without even changing her shoes, Shen Baiyu walked straight over. First, she took the controller beside me and set it on the coffee table. Her movements were gentle, but her knuckles were taut. Then she looked at the two girls. Her voice was ice-cold. Out. The girls could read the room. They hurriedly stood and left. Luo Qingyu was the most tactful of all. She shut the door behind them and called through it. Shen Baiyu, take it easy. Don't scare him off again. The door clicked shut, leaving only Shen Baiyu and me in the living room. She stood before me, the corners of her eyes red, her chest rising and falling sharply. I deliberately leaned back against the sofa. Didn't you say you didn't want to touch me? So I found people to play games with me. Is that not allowed either? Shen Baiyu bent down, bracing both hands at my sides, and pinning me against the sofa. Her cool fragrance mingled with faint alcohol, until even my breathing slowed. She stared at the leather gloves on my hands. Her throat bobbed. Fangs you. Don't provoke me with this. I turned my head aside, my tone even softer. That girl just said my hands were pretty. Shen Baiyu's gaze changed completely. She gripped my wrist, not hard, yet I couldn't move. She asked in a restrained voice, who do you think is pretty? The moment Shen Baiyu asked that, I suddenly understood. It wasn't that she couldn't get jealous. She had simply been too good at hiding it. So everyone thought her aloof, rational, and restrained. Only you on that alt account revealed the truth. That whenever she saw another person beside me, she drove herself nearly mad. I looked up at her and deliberately didn't answer. Shen Baiyu's fingers tightened slightly, then quickly loosened, as though afraid I'd cry out in pain. That small detail softened my heart. She was clearly about to lose control. Yet her first thought was still not to hurt me. I slipped my hand from her palm and slowly pressed it to her chest. Her body went rigid. Through her thin shirt, I could feel her wildly erratic heartbeat. Still pretending, Shen Baiyu looked down at me. The coldness in her eyes finally cracked. Fangs you. Don't ask. I'm afraid if I tell you, you'll regret marrying me. I gave a small laugh. What I regret most now is letting you fool me for half a year. Shen Baiyu froze. I didn't give her a chance to keep playing dumb. I picked up my phone, opened that alt account's profile, and held it before her. The moment the screen lit up, Shen Baiyu went completely stiff. She saw the profile picture, then the pin post. How can I make him accept the perverted me? That face which never lost control in the boardroom, visibly flushed red, the heat spreading from her ears to her neck. Her secret was truly exposed. Shen Baiyu opened her mouth, but couldn't form a complete sentence for a long while. I read it out for her. Every day. I want to ruin him. Today, I took 5 cold showers in the bathroom. President Shen, you certainly have a way with words. She pressed down on my phone, her voice terribly hoarse. Don't read it. I insisted on reading it. Didn't you say the washing machine ruined my socks? Shen Baiyu closed her eyes, as if finally resigned to it. I have them. She turned and went into the master bedroom. I followed her. I watched her open the bottom drawer of the bathroom cabinet. Inside was a clean storage bag. Several pairs of my socks were folded neatly inside, along with the tie I had been unable to find. Everything had been washed and carefully put away. It didn't look like she'd hidden them away in secret. It looked more like someone had hidden feelings she couldn't voice. In the darkest, most secret place, Shen Baiyu stood by the sink, unable to look at me. I know this is wrong, but in those days when you wanted a divorce, every time I touched you, you pulled away. I could only use these things to calm myself down. After saying it, even she seemed ashamed. She reached for the cold water tap. I stopped her. No more cold showers. Shen Baiyu turned back to me. Her eyes were red, but her voice was low and heavy. Fangs you. This is the real me. Not President Shen, the woman everyone sees outside. And not the childhood friend you think doesn't care about anything. I have a bad temper, and I'm possessive. If you say a few more words to someone else, it bothers me. I want to keep you by my side. I want you to look only at me. I want you, every day when you wake up, for me to be the first person you see. She paused there, as if there were deeper words still. Too afraid that once spoken, she couldn't take them back. In the end, she softly added, I've always been afraid you think I'm dirty. Those words struck me right in the heart. I thought of so many nights in the half year after our marriage. After I came out of the shower, she would sit on the edge of the bed, reading documents. Yet her eyes would linger on me for a long time. Whenever I came near, she'd close the documents, say she had work to do, and head for the study. I thought she was rejecting me. Only now did I know she was running away. Running even more desperately than I was. For half a year, I thought she found me repulsive, while she thought she didn't deserve to come near me. A bed lay between us, both of us hurting, each misunderstanding the other, neither willing to speak plainly first. I raised my hand and took off her leather glove. This time, she didn't pull away. Her palm was cold, but her fingertips trembled. I placed that hand against my cheek. Shen Buyu, listen to me. Don't take my things without asking again. And don't deceive me with that so-called old flame. If you want to hold me, say so. If you want to kiss me, say so. If something is bothering you, tell me. Don't pretend to be indifferent all by yourself. And don't take cold showers alone. Shen Buyu stared at me blankly. What if I really can't control myself? I pointed to the storage bag in her hand. Start by not hiding things. And this all to count. I picked up my phone and waved it before her. You can write whatever you want from now on. But don't make it sound as if you've committed some unforgivable sin. There's no shame in liking me. There's no shame in wanting me, either. But you have to let me know. Her eyes grew even redder. I added, and ask me about everything. As long as I say yes, you have nothing to fear. But that isn't permission to do whatever you want. I looked at her and made myself perfectly clear. I like it when you're jealous. And I like seeing your true self around me. But I don't like being kept in the dark. If you're hurting, pull me close and tell me. If you want to get close to me, ask directly. Only continue if I say yes. If I say no, you stop. Shen Buyu listened intently, as if she were agreeing to terms more important than any contract. At last, she gave a soft hum of assent. Okay, I'll learn. She said those words so quietly, as though afraid that if her voice rose, everything before her would vanish. After several seconds, she slowly asked, You're not afraid of me? Looking at her, on the verge of tears yet forcing herself to hold on, I suddenly wanted to tease her. So I rose on my toes and kissed the corner of her mouth. Afraid of what? That you'll write about me on that alt account every day. Or that you'll repress yourself until you make yourself sick. Shen Buyu's breathing instantly turned uneven. She lowered her gaze to me. Her grip on the edge of the sink tightened and tightened. Her knuckles turned white. Fangs, you don't regret this. I tossed my phone onto the sink, then switched off the bathroom light. Light from the hallway spilled in, leaving only a faint glow. I wrapped my arms around her neck and leaned close to her ear. It's been half a year, Shen Buyu. If you hold back again tonight, then I'll truly regret it. Neither of us finished what we meant to say after that. The bedroom door shut, and the curtains were drawn tight. I carelessly tossed the divorce agreement beneath the bedside table, along with that comfort plushie, where they were shoved into a corner. Shen Buyu finally stopped treating me like fragile porcelain. She would stop and ask if I was hurting. The moment I frowned, she would immediately pull back. And whenever I moved close of my own accord, she'd whisper my name over and over, as if she were finally sure I was still in her arms. That night, I finally understood how much hurt was hidden beneath her so-called restraint. When I woke the next morning, my throat was a little hoarse. The curtains were still closed. A glass of warm water sat on the bedside table, with a sticky note from Shen Buyu beside it. Drink some water when you wake up. Breakfast is in the pot. I looked at her absurdly neat handwriting, and couldn't help laughing. Last night, she had been like a flood finally unleashed. Yet by morning, she was back to being the President Shen, who even placed sticky notes perfectly straight. After getting dressed, I went downstairs. Shen Buyu was already sitting at the dining table. She was impeccably dressed, her shirt buttoned right to the collar, her hair combed without a strand out of place. If not for the cold glass of water beside her, I wouldn't have known how long she'd been waiting there. Hearing my footsteps, she immediately stood up. The chair legs scraped softly across the floor. She glanced at me, then quickly looked away. I'm sorry. I lost control last night. If you're angry, I can sleep in the guest room. If you still want a divorce, I can also. The words that followed came out with great difficulty, as though even thinking of them hurt. I didn't respond. I simply handed her my phone. The screen was still on her alt account's profile. Shen Buyu looked down at it. Her expression was even more dramatic than it had been last night. Yesterday, I'd only discovered her pin post. Today, she found out. I'd read every post she'd made since 9th grade. Holding the phone, the tips of her ears reddened again. I sat across from her and slowly took a sip of porridge. President Shen, explain something for me. Who was that old flame you said went abroad? Shen Buyu looked up almost instantly. There was no old flame. There was no campus beauty either. I made all of that up. I froze mid-motion. She hurried around the table, crouched before me, and took my hand. I was afraid you'd realize how I felt about you. Afraid you'd know that long ago. I'd wanted to marry you. If you thought my heart belonged to someone else, you wouldn't suspect it was you. Fang's you. From middle school until now, you are the only person I love. I looked down at her. What about our wedding day? I was drunk. I forced you to marry me. You agreed so quickly. Was that an act too? Shen Buyu fell silent. The moment she went silent, I understood. I set the whole thing up that day. I even had the liquor swapped for something with a stronger delayed kick. I never meant to hurt you. I only wanted you to say the things you usually didn't dare say. She looked up at me, her eyes full of undisguised panic. I know what I did was despicable. If you want to punish me, I'll accept whatever punishment you choose. But don't leave. Don't abandon me. As Shen Buyu said this, she was still the same President Shen who, in business, could drive people into a corner with nowhere left to retreat. But there she was, crouching before me, her fingers clutching the hem of my clothes. Like a child afraid of being left behind. The little spark of anger in me suddenly fizzled out. That didn't mean I could simply let this go. I gently pulled her hand away. Shen Buyu, we'll settle this score slowly later. Her eyes lit up at once. I'd said later. We weren't getting divorced now. It was as if she had finally come back to life. She immediately stood up and dug a brown paper envelope out of the living room trash can. Inside was the divorce agreement I prepared earlier. When Shen Buyu saw the words divorce agreement, her face went even paler. She took those papers and turned to feed them into the shredder. The machine whirred for over 10 seconds. The agreement became strips of shredded paper. Still, she wasn't reassured. She lowered her head and checked twice, making sure it couldn't be pieced back together. Only then did she return to the study and bring out another document. What's this? A property transfer agreement. She pushed the document toward me. My properties and shares, as well as my funds, can all be transferred to you. From now on, you'll manage all the household money too. I only want one condition. What condition? Shen Buyu looked at me and spoke one word at a time. Don't divorce me. I stared at the terrifyingly thick document, suddenly recalling something she'd written on her alt account. If he really marries someone else, I'll lose my mind. For years, she had held up the most impeccable facade, maintaining it all this time. But beneath it, she had long been a complete mess. I closed the document. Keep the money for now. Shen Buyu's face tightened. As long as I get to be in charge of you. She froze for 2 seconds, then suddenly smiled. Since I'd known her, it was the first time I'd seen her smile so freely. That weekend, we returned to the Yazi Club. This time, I wasn't alone. Carrying a divorce agreement with me, Shen Buyu held my hand as we entered the private room. Her fingers were laced tightly with mine, as if she feared I'd run away. The moment Luo Qingyu saw us, she immediately whistled. Well, brother-in-law, you didn't run off. Weren't you talking about divorce a few days ago? Shen Buyu pulled out a chair for me to sit down. Her tone was casual, but she couldn't suppress the curve of her lips. We're not getting divorced. Luo Qingyu leaned closer and quietly asked me, You saw her alt account? I nodded. I knew she would blow her cover sooner or later. Shen Buyu shot her a glance. You talk too much. Brother-in-law. Brother-in-law, if she puts on an act again, send screenshots of her alt account to the group chat. The tips of Shen Buyu's ears reddened again. For the first time, I realized, watching her die of embarrassment was far more entertaining than seeing her cold expression. That night, in front of all our friends, Shen Buyu updated her alt account. The new post had only one sentence. My husband found out, but he didn't leave. The photo showed our clasped hands, with half a comfort plushie visible beside them. And beneath the nightstand, the cover of the divorce agreement I'd retrieved. The comments instantly exploded. Shen Buyu looked down at me. then typed a reply. I'm still learning. He's very strict with me. I snatched her phone and added. The main thing is, she did pretty well. The private room erupted in laughter. Shen Bai's ears turned bright red. But she didn't take her phone back. She only lowered her head and tightened her hold on my hand. After we got home, I sat before my easel, putting away my paints. Shen Baiyu hugged me from behind, resting her chin lightly on my shoulder. Thank you. I set down my brush. What are you thanking me for? For not being afraid of me. I turned to face her. Shen Baiyu, from now on, you can be possessive. You can be jealous. You don't have to be perfect, but you can't lie to me. You can't bottle everything up alone. And you definitely can't frighten yourself with the word divorce. She nodded seriously. Okay. I raised my hand and gently pinched her earlobe. And one more thing. Write less weird stuff on your alt account. Shen Baiyu gave a soft laugh. Then, what should I write? I thought for a moment. Write that you finally don't have to hold back anymore. Shen Baiyu lowered her head and clasped my hand. She held it for a while, then loosened her grip, as if afraid she was hurting me. This time, she didn't ask whether I was afraid, because she already knew. I wasn't the fragile porcelain figure she imagined would shatter at a touch. I was the person she'd waited 20 years to finally hold hands with. And she wasn't the childhood sweetheart I thought didn't love me. She had simply loved too deeply. So deeply that even getting close took endless practice. Thankfully, we still had a long future ahead. And she could learn, little by little.